Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a genuinely fascinating mystery that sits right at the core of our daily existence. I mean, think about it. How do humans actually create meaning? We interact, we speak, we build these incredibly complex civilizations. But where does the meaning behind all of that actually come from? To figure this out, we're going to dive deep into the brilliant framework of George Herbert Mead and his paradigm of symbolic interactionism. So, get ready, because understanding this is literally going to change how you view your own thoughts and your interactions with the world around you.
So here's the big question. How exactly do humans bridge the gap between biological impulses and rational thought? Biologically speaking, we're driven by the exact same basic impulses as other animals, right? Yet somehow we have this incredible ability to pause, reflect, adhere to moral codes, and construct entire societies. How does a purely biological organism acquire the ability to be self-aware and think abstractly? This is the fundamental problem that Mead's theories solve, and it's exactly what we are going to unpack today. Here's a quick roadmap for us. We'll briefly look at the roots of symbolic interactionism, map out Mead's 5 concepts of meaning, and then heavily focus on his 3 massive foundations: mind, self, and society.
Okay, let's dive into this. Part 1. The roots of symbolic interactionism.
To really get where Mead is coming from, we have to look at his incredibly unique, multidisciplinary lens. You see, he didn't just isolate his studies to traditional psychology. He actively combined it with sociology and evolutionary biology. Back in the early 20th century, radical behaviorists were treating human behavior almost like lab rats, just stimulus and response, completely ignoring our rich, internal conscious experience. Well, Mead argued that was way too simplistic. He developed a biosocial perspective. He completely recognized our biological roots, sure, but he argued that the crucial missing piece of the puzzle was social interaction.
Let's look at a concrete example. Consider the difference between insignificant and significant gestures. Picture 2 dogs fighting. One growls, the other bites back. It's a purely instinctual action-reaction loop. Mead called these insignificant gestures because the dogs aren't consciously planning out the meaning. But humans, we use significant gestures, specifically language. If you're in a crowded building and you shout fire, you aren't just reacting blindly. You're consciously using a vocal gesture because you know exactly how it will affect you and how it will affect everyone else around you. You're actively using significant symbols to control future actions. It's a real game changer.
Moving on to part 2, the 5 concepts of meaning. Mead identified 5 crucial concepts that essentially construct human meaning: mind or pikiran, self or diri, society or masyarakat, value and consciousness. Now, while value and consciousness are kind of the ultimate end products, to truly see how meaning is built from the ground up, we are going to focus heavily on that foundational triad: pikiran, diri, and masyarakat.
All right, part 3, the first foundation, mind or pikiran.
Let's start at the most microscopic level, the internal workings of human thought, which Mead calls the mind. Interestingly, Mead does not define the mind as the physical, biological brain inside your skull. Instead, he defines it as the active presence of significant symbols and conscious behavior inside an individual. Basically, the mind is a social process that you have internalized through language. Think about that for a second. It means that thinking is actually just an internal conversation you're having with yourself.
Let's move to and see how this builds. How does this mind actually operate in practice? Well, step 1, you use a significant symbol, like a word. Step 2, you indicate its meaning to yourself exactly as you indicate it to others. And step 3, you literally take the role of the other. You imagine how the other person is going to react, and you use that imagined reaction to control your own behavior. Your mind is literally functioning because you are simulating society within your own head. Crazy, right? Part 4, the second foundation, self or diri.
Once the mind is active, we can zoom out slightly from individual thoughts to the whole personality. Have you ever stopped to think about how incredibly unique it is that humans can actually observe, analyze, and judge their own actions as if looking from the outside? You can say to yourself, "Ugh, I really shouldn't have done that," or "Wow, I am so proud of myself." You have literally become an object to your own mind. And that specific ability, that is the exact mechanism that creates the self. Now, you aren't just born with this ability. It takes time to develop. First comes stage 1, imitation. Think of a child playing house or cops and robbers. They're just taking on a single specific role. But the real magic happens in stage 2, readiness to act. Here you internalize what Mead calls the generalized other, meaning you absorb the organized norms, expectations, and rules of your entire community. Congratulations, you've officially acquired a true social personality.
Which brings us to part 5, the dynamics of I and me.
This right here is where Mead's genius absolutely shines. The self isn't just some static, boring block. It's this fascinating, highly dynamic internal dialogue between an I and a me. The I is your impulsive, creative, biological response to a situation. The me is the organized set of social rules you've adopted from that generalized other we just talked about. I mean, think about a time you suddenly blurted something out and surprised even yourself. That was your spontaneous I acting. Then, a split second later, you felt embarrassed because you realized it wasn't socially appropriate. That feeling? That was your socially conditioned me stepping in to judge the I.
The absolutely crucial difference here lies in our awareness. You can never truly know your I in the present moment. You only know what your I did in your memory after it acts. The me, on the other hand, is known consciously as societal expectations. And here's the thing. These two forces desperately need each other. Without the me, we wouldn't have any social order or rules whatsoever. But without the I, we'd just be robots blindly following society's script. The I is the ultimate source of your uniqueness, your creativity, and your genius.
And finally, part 6, the third foundation, society or Masharakat. Now that we understand the mind and the self, we can zoom all the way out to the macroscopic environment where they actually operate, society. And this brilliantly illustrates how society isn't just some empty container that people are randomly dropped into. No, it's an organic, deeply interconnected whole. Society is the essential environment of interaction that makes the mind and the self possible in the very first place. It's all connected. So while society definitely dominates the individual by instilling that me, teaching us the rules and norms, it is absolutely not a one-way street. Because of that unpredictable, creative I, individual actions continuously act back upon society. Every single time you assert your individuality, you are slightly altering the overarching social structure. It is a beautiful, endless loop. Society creates the individual, and the individual actively recreates society. And you know what? This dynamic friction is literally the ultimate birthplace of meaning. Remember those last two concepts of meaning we mentioned earlier, value and consciousness? Well, they are born precisely from this friction. When your I and your me interact, when you decide whether to sacrifice your personal impulse for the social whole or assert your individuality to change the group, that is exactly where true human value and consciousness are generated. Meaning isn't found in a vacuum. It's built through this profound, ongoing social interaction.
So your mind was given to you by social interaction. Your me was built by society's expectations. But your I, your unique creative spark, has the undeniable power to change society. Knowing this incredible architecture of meaning that's operating within your own head right now, what unique value will yourself bring to the world tomorrow?